Hey guys, this is Andy. Welcome back. You know, we humans are all drawn, I think instinctively, to fantastic, bigger than life tales of cosmic battles between gods and monsters. I think the recent MCU movies, especially the Avengers Endgame, is a testament to that fact. And of course, the Endgame is based on the Marvel Infinity War saga comic book from the 90s, which was a pretty major commercial success in its own right. But sometimes you come across a tale which is so down to earth, almost relatable, yet so intense, so impactful that it lingers in your mind for a long time after, sometimes for years, decades even. What I'm looking at today is, in my opinion, a book of the most exquisite artwork and storytelling, and yet all packaged in a very simple tale of love, death, and revenge, which are themes as old as mankind itself. The book in question is this: Shadow of the Bat, issue number 5, The Black Spider, written by Alan Grant and drawn by Norm Breyfogle. Well, now, both these individuals are industry legends. Grant is, of course, one of the most celebrated comic writers of all time, and Breyfogle is, or rather, he was, until his sad passing a few years back, one of the absolute best Batman artists there ever was. And I say that without a hint of doubt. Breyfogle brought a certain freshness, boldness, and an excitement to his rendition of the Batman that really gave a big boost for sales in the late 80s and 90s of the Batman comic. Although one may argue that Tim Burton's Batman movie of '89 also helped in increasing sales. Still, looking at the artwork here, you can clearly see that the man had a massive impact on the character popularity. Um, let's let's look at this rendition here of the Batman coming in through the window, even with the shadow play going on, which I'm personally a fan of. I think that shadows suit the Batman perfectly. You can feel the intensity of the Batman's entry jumping off the page. I mean, you have to hand it to Breyfogle. He really, really knew his stuff. Now, this story is a tragedy and concentrates on the character of the Black Spider, who is portrayed not really as a full blown villain here, which he was historically depicted as, but rather an anti hero. Now, I won't go in depth into the character history of the Black Spider in this particular video. A quick background, however, is that his real name is Eric Needham. He used to be a heroin addict, and in a drug fueled frenzy, he one day accidentally killed his own father during a botched robbery attempt, where he was in fact the robber, an action which then shocked him into fighting his addiction and then setting out to take on the drug dealing criminal element. Now, whilst he was still on drugs, he had become romantically involved with a lady named Linda, who was also a drug user, and they had had a child together, a son named Mikey, who Eric had actually learned about a few years later. In this particular Shadow of the Bat story, we see Eric trying to wipe out the drug dealing scum element on the streets, and at the same time, he's trying to play family man with Linda and their son. The complications he faces are trying to evade the Batman after failing to get him on his side. I mean, after all, they are both after the drug dealers. However, Batman likes to capture them, whilst the Black Spider prefers them a little more on the dead side. Adding to his problems is the fact that Linda is still a persistent drug user who is living with their son. And the son, Mikey, refuses to leave his mother's side when Eric threatens to take him away because he feels that Linda is obviously neglecting her duties as a mother. Makes perfect sense. However, try as he might, Eric cannot get Linda to see the light. And you know that all makes sense too, because drug addiction, any addiction for that matter, is extremely difficult to escape. And the fact that the son refuses to leave his mother's side is also a very nice touch, a sensitive part of the tale which demonstrates the bond between mother and child, even when the mother is drug addled and cannot properly take care of her child. Now, to cut a short story even shorter, Linda and Eric's son Mikey are both killed by the very drugs he is trying to get off the streets and by the same drug dealers that he is trying to eliminate. Of course, he is devastated by this, as I think any father would be. And having found out the identity and whereabouts of the head drug dealer baddie chap, he sets out on a literal suicide mission. And before that, he writes a letter to the Batman, setting out his tale of his tale of sadness, I suppose, tale of sadness and loss that he's gone through, so that at least someone, even if it's the Batman, will be able to understand his motivations at least. In my mind, in my opinion, the fact that he's written a letter is also such a beautiful touch. It's such an intelligent touch to the story. It demonstrates the fact that people, no matter how strong, how independent, how solitary they want to be, or pretend to be in keeping their angst and desperation and their despair to themselves, they all need someone that they can talk to. They all need an ear in which they can speak or whisper their concerns. We all need that human touch. And I guess that the Black Spider confiding in Batman clearly shows that, at some deep down low level, he knew that the Batman was a good guy. He knew that he could confide in him. He must have felt that the Batman, even if he didn't follow the same path as the Black Spider, at least he would understand. I think we need that depiction of Batman more so now in these crazy times than perhaps when this story was originally written in the early 90s. Anyway, that's a different matter we'll discuss later. Anyhow, the Black Spider, gets to the drug dealer's den, takes out a few of the henchmen, and then gets shot and is dragged into the belly of the beast. But then he gets the last laugh. You see, unbeknownst to the drug dealers, our man, Black Spider, is wired to explode. And he does just that. He blows them all up by detonating an explosive vest that he was wearing under his costume, but not before saving the Batman by chucking him out of a window. One of the most touching elements of this story that really got me is that throughout this book, Eric is conversing with the Batman through a letter that he has written him. And I think the real beauty of the story lies in the letter extracts that are peppered throughout the pages. I'll demonstrate a few. I don't know why I'm writing this to you, of all people. Everything we ever had to say to each other was said last night. I guess I just wanted someone to know, someone who might think of me in a year's time, and maybe spare a moment to remember. If you don't, it doesn't matter. I'll have done everything I needed to make my peace. And then heroin showed me its true face. You know the story. You remember how, crazed with my need for more dope, I tried to rob a store. And when that old busybody tried to stop me, I blew him away. And it turned out to be my own father. That's heroin for you. It starts out pretending to show you a good time and ends up controlling everything you do. I only went back to try to make my peace. Linda was right. It was over between us long since. But I didn't want Mikey hating me, not my own son. Mikey must have been asleep. She never shot up whilst he was around. It's 100% pure. Killed her in minutes. He must have wakened. Maybe he had a bad dream. Or, yeah, he was hungry. Yeah, that was it. And the sugar on his cereal was smack. Life is sacred, but when you violate the lives of others, when you turn people into victims, when you kill, you lose your right to it. I'm doing this for Linda and Mikey and my father and every poor sucker who tried to fill the hole in his life with heroin. If you think of me at all, Batman, remember, we're all addicts. Make sure you understand just what it is you're addicted to. And then you have this final shot of Batman getting into his Batmobile. And just from, again, this almost seemingly very simple illustration, you can sense the Batman's sadness seeping through the page. What? Only an artist of greatness can demonstrate so much in so little. It really is amazing. Anyhow, guys, that brings me to the end of this episode. I really wanted to share this story with you because I think it's one of the greats. It probably won't go down as one of the greats. It's not a Watchmen. It's not a Infinity War. It's not Superman 75. It's not a Death in the Family. It's none of those. But still, it is, in my mind, a mini masterpiece. And maybe in time, who knows, maybe in time it'll get the recognition it deserves, but it probably won't. Anyhow, I've been your host. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.